Okay, so welcome to part 2 of this walkthrough. We've successfully had a look at the source questions. So in the exam, the next page you'd turn to are what I call the factual recall or the knowledge-based questions. There's no sources involved, it's just a straight up question, what do you know about this? And on the medicine through time part of the paper, you get a choice of 3 different questions. So you can either attempt question 2, parts A, B and C, you do question 3, A, B and C, or question 4, A, B and C. So when you're making your choice, it's really, really important to have read through each and every part of question 2, question 3 and question 4 so that there's no surprises coming up. So that's what we're going to do first. So question 2, many different factors have helped medicine to progress. So straight away we know from that blurb we're going to be talking about factors. So these aren't the individuals, these aren't the periods of history, these are big reasons why medicine has changed. So that's the focus for the question. Let's go through and see which factors we're going to be asked about. So we've got question A, briefly describe important medical developments brought about by great individuals during the time of the ancient Greeks. Okay, so the focus of this question is great individuals and the ancient Greeks. The last thing we need to consider for this question is also what it's asking us to do, which is a briefly describe. So what we're looking for here with a briefly describe question that's worth 5 marks is, can you describe 5 different facts, 5 different things that links to individuals, ancient Greeks and medical developments. Question 2b is an explain question. And the thing you're trying to explain is how chance helped developments in medicine. So the focus for this is chance, and you need to consider anything to do with chance or luck that helped medicine to develop. And because it's a 7-mark question, you're looking to explain 2 separate things, 2 separate occasions when chance has helped developments in medicine. And finally, question 2c, the key word here is governments. So we're going to be looking at governments in terms of the factor, and it's asking us, did it hinder or did it help? So there's our split. And it's an 8-mark question. For an 8-mark question, it's always a comparison, and the thing you're going to be comparing is hindering and helping. So we're looking for occasions when the governments stopped progress or slowed it down, and other times when governments helped medicine to progress. And that's the comparison we're looking for. So on the one hand it hindered, on the other hand it helped, and then you come to your overall conclusion. So we come to question 3, and before we look at parts A, B and C, let's just read the sentence that starts the question, and we can see it says, much progress was made during the medical renaissance. So we now know that the topic of these 3 questions below is going to be the Renaissance, and in particular medical development during that time. So we come to question 3a, which is another briefly described question. Same technique as was mentioned above in question 2a. It's worth 5 marks. Therefore we're looking for 5 different facts, 5 different details. And the topic of the question, so briefly describe, is the command word, the treatments used by medieval doctors. Okay, so we're looking for the treatments of medieval doctors. Now that's very, very important to note that the medieval period comes before the Renaissance, so make sure you read those questions carefully and get yourself set. So this question here is obviously setting you up to see if your knowledge goes outside of the Renaissance. When we come to question 3b, which is another explain question, just as above, we're looking at explain questions that are worth 7 marks. You need to explain 2 separate things. So the question is, explain why developments in the medical Renaissance had little impact on the methods used by doctors at the time. So we're looking to explain why developments in the medical Renaissance had little impact. So we're looking for reasons why it had little impact on methods used at that time. So explain why things had little impact at that time. So you're looking for 2 separate reasons why the developments of such doctors and such medical men as Paré, Harvey and Vesalius, why actually it didn't have that much of an impact at that time. And then finally we come to question 3C, which again is an 8-mark question. So we know we're looking for a comparison within this question. And the question reads, the main reason why there was much progress in medicine during the Renaissance was the existence of great men like Paré and Vesalius. How far do you agree with this statement? Explain your answer. So what this question is asking you to compare, it's not very clear to start off with, but you just need to make sure you read it a couple of times to work it out. It's asking, on the one hand, people like Paré and Vesalius were the reason for much progress in medicine. But on the other hand, it's other factors, other reasons. So really the comparison comes here in this part of the question. Agree or disagree. So on the one hand, it was great men like Paré, Vesalius doing the work they did. On the other hand, it might be something like the invention of the printing press. So those are the 3 questions, parts A, B and C, for question 3. So the final question you could choose from, if you don't like the look of question 2 or 3, is question 4. So once again, let's read the sentence that starts off that question. There were many important developments in medicine during the 19th century. So the 19th century, we're talking about the 1800s, the Industrial Revolution, and all the changes that happened at that time. So let's have a look at question 4A. Again, doesn't hurt to keep saying this. Briefly describe questions that are worth 5 marks. You're looking for 5 separate facts, 5 separate details that link to whatever the question is about. So the question is briefly describe what was done in the 19th century to improve public health. So you'd be looking for 5 different facts, 5 different things that was done at that time in the 19th century that made public health better. Question 4B, again, explain. Questions worth 7 marks. You're looking for 2 separate things that you can explain. So let's look what they're looking for. Explain why Florence Nightingale, so as a topic of our question, is Florence Nightingale is important in the history of medicine. So the other key word there is important. So you're looking for 2 different reasons why Florence Nightingale is important. So she did this and it was important for these reasons. She also did this and it was important for these reasons. And then finally we come to question 4C, which again we remember from question 2 and question 3 is a comparison question. Anytime you see an 8-mark question on paper 1, it's a comparison question and it's just about finding out what you need to compare. So let's read the question. There was no major progress in surgery in the 19th century until the work of Lister. How far do you agree with this statement? Explain your answer. So just like with 3C above, we're actually looking, the comparison is between you agree with that statement, but you also disagree. So the statement is asking you, it's stating there was no major progress in surgery in the 19th century until the work of Lister and antiseptics. So on the one hand, you would say, I agree with that. After Lister, these things happened. But on the other hand, I disagree with that because before Lister, these things had happened. And then you come to your overall conclusion. So the comparison there is between I agree with the statement and I disagree with the statement. So now we've had a walk through all 3 questions, question 2, 3 and 4. You would now make a decision based on how well you think you could answer all 3 parts of a question. So it's really, really important, as you can see, that you read through all 3 parts of a question before making a decision, because you might make your choice on the first question. So let's say question A, that's a really good one, you think you can answer that. Or question B looks pretty good as well, I can answer that. And you come to question C, which is worth 8 marks, and you're a little bit stumped. So you need to make sure you always read through all 3 parts before making your choice.